Welcome everybody to the 2021 ALS Association Greater Philadelphia Chapter Annual Celebration. My name is Michael Barkan from NBC Sports Philadelphia, and I'm thrilled to be here before all of you. Thank you all for coming out today, braving the weather. Take a look at that weather. Would you like to go for a bike ride on a day like today? Because the Lodishes would, let me tell you, and they have, and they will, on that tandem bike of theirs. We're going to find out who's steering and who's pedaling in just a little bit. This year's event highlights extraordinary achievement in ALS care, research, and advocacy, which you make possible through events like this. You make it possible. As you sit, please join me in greeting some of our special guests. First, of course, welcome Susan and Len Lodish, who we are recognizing today for their 25 years plus of work to end ALS. Please, where are the Lodishes? Where are they? I can't see. Stand up, Lodishes. Right there. They're pedaling in right now. Susan and Len on the Schwinn. Right. It's not a Schwinn, is it? No, it's fancier. Not that there's anything wrong with a Schwinn. I still have mine. Also, thanks to presenting hero sponsors Jack Abraham, Conservest Capital Advisors, Mark Lohr, Wolf Pack of Philadelphia, and of course the Philadelphia Phillies, who join us once again today as part of their 37-year commitment to strike out ALS. Thank you all. You can't start a lunch without the Rebbe, and please direct your attention to Rabbi Neil Cooper, Senior Rabbi of Temple Beth Hillel in Wynwood, and Susan and Len's good friend for an invocation to begin today's program. Rabbi.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. I get to take off my mask. Thank you, Michael. I'd like to begin by quoting a prayer from our daily prayer book, our daily services, which says, Asher bara nekavim nekavim, chalulim chalulim, galui v'yadua, she'im yifatech echad mehem o yisatem echad mehem, אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. We thank God for creating within us openings and closings, carefully coordinated and intricately balanced. For if an opening opens improperly, or if a closed passage opens at the wrong time, we might not even be able to live. This prayer is recited each day. It's an acknowledgement of our bodies, that the parts of our bodies are designed to function in perfect harmony. This is gratitude for the bodies that we take for granted all too often. They're miraculous, and they allow us to do what we do in this world, to use our brains to discover and create new things, to use our legs to ride bikes all over the world, to use our energy to bring goodness and promise to the world. This is among the most basic of our prayers. However, when this intricately balanced and harmonized body becomes unbalanced and discordant, when because of an anomaly at birth, a disease, or an accident, it does not work as it should, I think we are all called upon to respond on behalf of those who cannot respond always for themselves. I believe that's why we're here on earth, to be God's partner in the stewardship of the world. Religion in general, Judaism in particular, calls upon us to help and to heal, to repair that which has been broken. The ALS Foundation, which today honors my longtime friends and congregants, Susan and Len Lodish, this is an extraordinary organization which they support and work for, which exemplifies this idea of healing and helping. They're honored for what they are able to do, what they could do as they pedaled their way around the world, raising awareness for ALS. Susan and Len have used their bodies, their unique tandem bikes, to help those whose bodies have been stolen cruelly from them. We continue to pray today for insight and progress for our scientists and doctors who have devoted so much of their time and energy to this cause. May they continue their work of finding the elusive cure. May we pray that those who work to find ways to teach about this illness and those who raise funds and ride to faraway places do so with great success as they spread the word and awareness about this organization and, most importantly, about ALS. And we pray for strength and fortitude for those who suffer from ALS. May they find hope in the research which we help to fund. May they find strength and optimism in the message we convey. And may they find comfort in the knowledge that we're all in this together. Thank you.
Beautiful, Rabbi. Thank you very much. And something special. Rabbi went to the Hebrew. When the Rabbi went to the Hebrew, I'm telling you what, all of a sudden, back in shul, and I saw a lot of people who were bar and bar mitzvah sit up straighter when they heard the Hebrew, including Reuben Amaro Jr. right there. Yes, indeed, I saw it. Sat up straight. Thought the rabbi was talking to him. All right, today we've got a very full program. Before we begin, please join me in thanking event chairs, Lori and Kent Griswold, and Gloria and Bob Spitz, our board of directors, the event committee, and many volunteers and staff. Today would not be possible without our event sponsors, whose names appeared on the screen at the beginning of today's program and are all listed in your program books. In addition to our presenting hero sponsors, whose signs are behind me on the stage, we acknowledge our visionary sponsors, Citizens, Independence Blue Cross, and Parks Casino, and our mission advancement sponsors, BDO, Blank Rome, Farber Family Foundation, Christine Cantor, Susan and Len Lodish, Alan Markowitz, Eleanor and Howard Morgan, and Loretta and John Russo. All of our sponsors are vital, and those mentioned are just the tip of the iceberg. We are honored to recognize Susan and Len Lodish for their exemplary dedication as year after year they rode their tandem bicycle around the world to raise money and awareness for the ALS cause. There is not enough time in the day to share all that the Lodishes have done for ALS care and research over this past quarter century, but we will give you a taste of their amazing journey with speeches from Lodish family members and friends, photos from their trips, and testimonials from around the world. I think the biggest testimonial, perhaps, is that they still remain happily married. That's a wonderful thing, on a tandem bike around the world. Beautiful. Oh, I know, Len, because Susan said so. Yes, I got it. I've been to many ALS events, but I've never seen a story quite like this one. And with that, I'd like to introduce Executive Director Jeff Klein and Board Chair Dan Quinn to deliver a brief message. Dan and I actually communicate after every Phillies and every Sixers and Eagles game. We text, and many times it's not pleasant, but I always love talking with Dan via text. Go ahead, guys. Jeff, how are you? Good to see you.
Thanks very much, Michael. Boy, is it good to see you all in three-dimensional form. I'm sure you agree with me. I'm Jeff Klein. I am truly blessed to be the executive director of the Greater Philadelphia chapter. Why is that? Because this organization helps people. People whose lives have been interrupted and changed forever by a diagnosis of ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. Now, all of us here today can relate to having our lives interrupted. I'm referring, of course, to the COVID-19 pandemic. We've all experienced over the past 20 months or so numerous changes in the way we see the world and interact with each other. Who wants to do another Zoom? When COVID hit, like the rest of the world, we converted our services to virtual form. I'm happy to say that, in large measure, things are back to where they were. Our nurses and social workers are back to visiting patients in their homes. Likewise, patients are now visiting any of our 8 regional ALS clinics and centers in person. After more than a year hiatus, our transportation program is back up and running with our 2 handicap-accessible vans. People who know that I work for the ALS Association sometimes ask me, how is the pandemic impacting fundraising and donations? My answer is always the same. People who have been impacted by this disease can't not support us. It's simply part of who you are. So you have sustained us through the pandemic by participating in one of our walks, or with your gifts to our appeals, or with grants, and certainly by your presence here today, and with your sponsorships and donations. I will confess, the last 2 years have been a little rocky. But thanks to faithful and generous and caring people like you, we've made it through the other side, and the skies are brightening. So on behalf of our board and staff, but especially the people with ALS and their families that we are privileged to serve, thank you. Today, we are honoring 2 people, Susan and Len Lodish, whose lives were impacted by ALS and who took matters into their own hands, or should I say their feet, to do something about it, raising money and awareness through their incredible tandem bike adventures over 25 years. We also honor with our Flame of Hope Awards 3 individuals whose lives have been impacted by ALS, who you will meet after lunch. And today, as is customary at this event, we also honor the Philadelphia Phillies, our partners in the fight against ALS for the past 37 years. So it's now my pleasure to turn things over to a gentleman who is in his first year administration as chair of the board of the chapter, and has been quite eventful. But I'd like to introduce you to Dan Quinn.
Thanks, Jeff. First of all, I'm so proud to be the chair of the ALS Association Greater Philadelphia Chapter Board of Directors. This is a homecoming for us, so congratulations, we made it. For over 30 years, I have seen firsthand the impact of care programs, advocacy programs, global research, all provided by the ALS Association. So without it, they've made a tremendous difference in the lives of many families suffering from this disease. In 1992, boy, that's a long time ago, I was asked to play in a fundraising basketball marathon to raise money to fight ALS. At the time, I had no idea. And today, the Billy Lake ALS Basketball Marathon is the longest running family-run charity event in the United States for the ALS Association. So we're very proud of that. I can't take credit. That would be Patty Lake. I'm an avid baseball fan, and so I know all about Lou Gehrig and what Lou Gehrig means to baseball, his illustrious career. But in 1992, I didn't know anything about Lou Gehrig's disease. So after years of working in the organization at marathons, at basketball programs, at golf, at just about anything to raise money, I have found that this is the most rewarding program that I've ever been involved in. It's truly just an unbelievable thing for us and for fighting the ALS disease. The whole process of working here has been part of my wife, Patty, grabbing me by the throat and saying, we're going here today, we're going here today. We have this fundraiser to go to, we have this fundraiser to go to, and we're going to fight this disease. I will go on record by telling you that of all the many programs that we've been involved in, if there is an ALS parachute jump, I will not be participating in that. I want to thank the chapter for the support, and I want to thank you, the ALS community, for everything you do for us. This has been a challenging year, or a challenging 2 years, but we've survived it, and we've done very well as a result of it. So thank you, and keep up the good work. And of course, none of that would be possible without the support of our good friends, the Philadelphia Phillies. And I'm an avid baseball fan. My family tells me I'm a psycho baseball fan, and Michael Barkan will probably attest to that after some of the Phillies games. But without the Philadelphia Phillies, none of this is possible, and we're forever grateful. So on behalf of the board, thank you. Thank you for your attendance today, your generosity, and your steadfast support of the ALS program. And congratulations to Len and Susan Lodish for a well-deserved honoree for this year's annual luncheon. I do have one question for the Lodishes. Did you bicycle down here today? Because you look fabulous. That's congratulations. Thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch. And back to you, Michael.
Jeffrey, great job. Thank you, Dan and Jeff. Also, we're going to meet some of the Phillies in just a moment, but wanted to introduce Greg and Connie Gross, Mickey and Peg Morandini, and of course Ruben Amaro Jr., who have all been so involved in our ALS support. It's great to see you all here, as they always are, and it's beautiful to see. We thank you. In addition, right after lunch, you'll find more inspiration from our 4th annual Flame of Hope Awards in ALS care, advocacy, and research and innovation. Remember your raffle tickets as well. Tickets are on sale now at the registration table, and sellers will also be coming around to your tables during lunch. Prizes include a dormy stay and play golf trip, Ocean City, Maryland condo vacation, a weekend stay here at Lowe's Philadelphia Hotel, dinner at a Fearless restaurant, and of course, Phillies 2022 home opening day Diamond Club tickets, which will feature, of course, the reigning National League MVP and Cy Young Award winner. So you want to get the raffle for that as well. What great stuff we have today. Speaking of the Fightin' Phils, the team has raised more than $20 million for the ALS cause since Nancy and Bill Giles met Malvina Charleston in 1984, and they agreed that ALS does belong in baseball. Here now is a message from the Philadelphia Phillies. Watch.
The ALS Association has been the Phillies' principal charity for almost 40 years. Like most relationships within the Phillies organization, the members and patients of the Greater Philadelphia chapter have become an extension of the Phillies family.
The Phillies' involvement with the patients means so much to them. You have the Phillies team behind you. The whole Phillies organization welcomes you when you come here.
Over the years, we've met wonderful people through the ALS Association. The patients, their courage, their fight, the families' care for the patients, the communities coming together. It's really something awesome to witness and to be a part of.
It's definitely awesome that the organization partners with them and we get to be around them. And the biggest thing that I see in every single one of them, they're so positive. They're always willing to battle it. They always believe that they're going to beat it.
When you're a player, you get locked into wins and losses. And that's a reality check, because wins and losses mean absolutely nothing when you see these people fighting for their lives, telling you how much they love watching you, and it takes a lot of courage for them to come in and talk to us, is something that I will always remember.
The 2021 season brought its own challenges after a year like no other. While the pandemic continued to halt decade-long traditions, the Phillies' efforts to raise money and awareness for the ALS Association continued. Throughout the weekend of June 4th, members of the Phillies community outreach team, including the Phillies ball girls, sold grab bags with autographed memorabilia.
The amount of money that we've raised has been over $20 million. And you think about that started off on a runway in a hotel as a fashion show. $20 million is something that I think the whole organization should be proud of, and I know Ellen Phillips is very proud of that.
The ALS Association has always insisted that ALS belongs in baseball. This season, it has finally come to fruition.
Major League Baseball announcing a Lou Gehrig's Day on June 2nd every year is a monumental event. We could not be more excited that Commissioner Manfred and the entire baseball community will be joining us in this fight.
The publicity that we will gain from having Lou Gehrig Day is immeasurable.
You know, they fight the ultimate battle with this disease, and it shows us, what we can do.
The Phillies' celebration of the first annual Lou Gehrig's Day was one to remember. Local individuals diagnosed with ALS were welcomed with a visit from manager Joe Girardi. And retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Chuck Schretzman returned to Citizens Bank Park to deliver the game's ceremonial first pitch, surprising everyone by getting out of his wheelchair and walking the first ball to the Fanatic.
This thing seems to be getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Hopefully we can continue it and it can continue to grow.
Our hope is the Phillies organization will continue to shine a bright light on the Philadelphia chapter of the ALS Association and all the good work that they do.
The Phillies and the ALS Association are eager to forge ahead and reach new milestones in the fight against ALS.
Great video. When I think of the Phillies, in addition to thinking of them as a championship organization, I also think about their relationship with ALS and how much they have helped us throughout the years. Now please welcome Lynn Montgomery, Sherry Clothier, Michelle D. Vacaris, Tony Burns, and John Weber of the Phillies, who are on stage with Bill Claiborne, who is living with ALS.
Thank you, Michael. From the Phillies, first of all, congratulations to the Lodishes. That's awesome. I rode 10 miles a couple weeks ago, and I'm still paying for that, so congratulations. When the Phillies' relationship started with the ALS Association in 1984, Greg Gross was in the outfield. Ruben Amaro was a freshman at Stanford, and Mickey Morandini was a senior in high school. And we have all three of our alumni here. I know Michael recognized them earlier, but if we could just give them a quick round of applause. Appreciate them all being here today. Bill Giles could not be here with us today, and he says hello. But without Bill and Nancy Giles, this wonderful partnership would not exist. And I've thought about that because I've said that in the past, and I realize that's not quite right. It may not have started in 1984, but once Malvina and Ellen talked to Bill and Nancy, it was going to start. It may have been 85 or 86, but it was going to start. 37 years, our organization continues to prioritize supporting the fight against ALS under the leadership of the Middleton and the Buck families, along with Andy McPhail and our Executive Vice President, Dave Buck. Although we're not able to have the festival the last 2 seasons, the announcement this past season by Major League Baseball to recognize a Lou Gehrig Day on June 2nd of every year during the MLB season was very exciting for all those impacted by ALS and for our organization. We often use the word teammate at the Phillies. Be a good teammate to one another, to our business partners, Spectre and Airmark, who's here today, our corporate partners, Citizens Bank Park, to the media. Where's my friend? You ever seen Michael and Ricky Bowe after a Phillies blow a 5-3 game in the ninth? Too often. Our day game staff, our players and our coaches, be a good partner to the city of Philadelphia, our community partners, and of course our fans. To have the 29 other teams and the league office join us as teammates in this fight is special, and we are honored. As the video mentioned, through the sale of grab bags, an online auction, and a 50-50 raffle, we were able to present Ellen and the ALS Association a $50,000 check about a month ago. The Phillies Charities Board met 2 weeks ago and awarded 30 grants to many worthwhile charitable causes in our area. The board also elected to give the ALS Association an additional check of $25,000, making our grand total $75,000. Many of the Phillies Charities Board members are here today, including Lynn Montgomery, Sherry Clothier, Michelle D. Vacaris, and Tony Burns. Thank you for having us and supporting our efforts to strike out ALS. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ellen Phillips. And Michael, thank you. You're the best. Nobody does it better. Very few people have been with our chapter as long as Susan and Len. The only other people are the Phillies. And we are so glad to have them today. And you always like surprises, don't you, John Weber? Thank you so much. And everybody here knows how much we appreciate the additional contribution and how much it's needed. The Phillies are truly our friends, and you'll hear that a lot. This year, on September 11th, all of us recognize the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Everybody remembers where they were on that day. For me, once I determined that my daughter was okay, I decided that I would continue on with my schedule, which included a meeting at the Phillies at Veterans Stadium to discuss the 2002 autograph party and auction. I drove there very cautiously, looking at the sky for planes. You may wonder, why did I even leave the house at all? Here's why. When I arrived at the ballpark, I was greeted by Lynn Montgomery, John Weber, Regina Castellani, and Nancy Giles. Nancy, who passed away last year at the age of 88, was a dear friend, and I do think about her every day. Bill Giles and Dave Montgomery were stranded in Milwaukee, and all the planes were canceled. We definitely didn't talk about the autograph party. We were anxious. Who wasn't? And being among friends was so helpful. Those friendships are still intact and always will be. I'd like to spend some time talking about our friends, the Lodishes. How many of us, be honest, would take a tandem bicycle, put it in a very large suitcase, check it in as baggage at the airport, hope it doesn't get damaged, and arrives at the proper destination where you reassemble your bike, take out your maps, and then proceed to go unaccompanied on journeys around the world. Oh, and then do this for 25 years. Any takers? Not me. I'm out. I gave up bike riding. I'm not sure I ever even started. However, I am a huge admirer of Susan and Len, as so many of you are right now, and so many more, all of you will be by the time this luncheon is over. Throughout their journey, they never lost sight of their mission to honor Len's cousin, Jules, who lost his life to ALS in 2008, and raise funds and awareness for ALS research and care services. Honestly, we never expected a 25-year run and a total of $2.2 million, which includes the $417,000 from this event. But we certainly are grateful. When we look back upon the ALS research landscape during these 25 years, much has occurred. Susan and Len took advantage of learning about the changes as the years went by. In 1966, when they hopped on their bikes, there was only one drug, Rilutek, and only one gene, SOD1, connected to ALS that had been discovered. Since then, research have discovered over 24 genes connected to ALS, and multiple drug treatments are being investigated. In 2007, the Lodishes ended their trip at the University of Pennsylvania and were greeted by Penn researcher Dr. Scott A. Mackler. Scott reminded Susan and Len of Jules because both were doctors, both used assistive technology, and both had ALS. We are pleased today to welcome Scott's brother Harvey, who is with us today from Florida. Harvey, over there, thank you. The dynamic duo also visited the Jackson Laboratory in Bar Harbor, Maine, and had a lesson in mouse genetics, anybody interested, with Greg Cox, who's a PhD up there, and they also toured the Eleanor and Lou Gehrig Center at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. Recently, the Healy platform trial began at Mass General and throughout the country. This is a concept, and I hope the people who are here from Jefferson do not yell out, "That's wrong." Just play along with me if I don't get it right. This was a concept borrowed from the cancer field, and it's very promising. It conducts several trials at once using less placebos. In addition, we look forward to learning if the FDA will approve the drug developed by a company known as Amylex. If I have the story right, this was the work of two Brown University students studying chemistry. They theorized that two specific drugs, if combined, might prolong survival of patients with ALS. Remarkably, so far, results have been positive through both phase 1 and 2 of a clinical trial. The NIH and the Department of Defense are supporting our cause through many funded programs. It is fitting to note that yesterday was Veterans Day. Veterans are twice as likely to develop ALS. My husband was a veteran. We have numerous members of Congress who actively support research and funding for ALS. When Susan and Len's biking adventure began, ALS patients only had a few options of where to receive medical support, and telemedicine, who knew that? Today, our chapter supports 8 treatment centers in our region, from Delaware through Philadelphia to Tioga County and half of New Jersey. And now, telemedicine was the method of choice during the pandemic. Susan and Len helped us make so much progress during this quarter century, and many of you also made that possible by being along for the ride. As they traveled from China to Israel to Turkey to England to South Africa, where Len, you might remember this, got bit on the butt by a baby tiger, many of you contributed to their notes on the road and lived with them every day, because every day they wrote in what you would call a diary and sent it out to those people who participated in the ride. Len did mention to me once that the donors like to read about the times they were in peril and hope that as a result they might increase their giving. There's still time. Please take a moment to think of how far Len and Susan have gone, which has made sure the chapter could go even further in pursuit of better care and treatments for our ALS families. They laid the groundwork so that we will have even better options in the years to come. I think we all wish that we could have been on some of these rides to see different cultures and meet people who we would have never met by staying at home. Sit back and watch this special video to hear from some of these people from around the world who have been moved by Susan and Len's adventures.
Our grandson, Zachary, celebrated his bar mitzvah earlier this year. And a week before that bar mitzvah, the rabbi asked both grandmothers if we would each share, in a few paragraphs, a life lesson that Zachary could carry with him. Len asked me if I would share my words with you, so here they are. Zach, you and your family chose today, April 3rd, as your bar mitzvah date. Today also would have been Grandpa Jules, Pop-Pop's 76th birthday. I thought it would be appropriate to share a life lesson that can be learned by looking at how he chose to live the last years of his life. At age 48, Pop-Pop was diagnosed with ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. At the time of his diagnosis, the life expectancy was 1 to 3 years, so this diagnosis was particularly devastating. One day, a year later, he lapsed into a coma. He did awaken, but at that juncture, he was told that he could choose to die or he could go on a ventilator because he could no longer breathe on his own. We talked, and I said that if he did choose the ventilator, I would help him. But we had to be together on this going forward. And so we created our mantra. We would do the best we could for as long as we could with as much dignity as we could muster. Instead of that 1 to 3 year life sentence, he lived for 15 years. He even got the chance to meet his first 2 grandchildren. He did the best he could for as long as he could with as much dignity as he could muster. Sue, Len, and I go back a long way. We all grew up in Cleveland. We went to the same high school.
And I know we went through Roosevelt Junior High School and Heights High School. Len and Sue have always been of help to everyone that they meet.
I'm so pleased to join you today in honoring them for the many miles they have ridden in my husband Jules' memory, for the awareness that those rides created, and for the dollars that those rides raised to help fund ALS research.
Dearest Len and Susan, heartiest congratulations on this well-deserved acknowledgement.
So I believe it was Len and Susan's first bike trip for ALS.
I met Susan and Len Lodish in the summer of 2020 when they were biking through for their 25th anniversary ride.
But on that journey, we became dear friends.
I was really impressed with them and really grateful that they were able to take the time to meet with our team to explore the care services and the research that we're doing at the medical center, including my work on brain computer interfaces.
I have known Len since I was a first-year MBA student at Wharton in the 1980s. Our family has supported Len and Susan's first amazing bicycle ride for ALS from coast to coast in 1996, and their 25th bike ride, and all in between.
I'm so happy to join you today, celebrating Len and Sue's remarkable achievements in riding their tandem bike for charity.
It is a great honor for me to pedal with them in Turkey.
Susan and Len, thank you for continuing to inspire us, and thank you for all that you've done and continue to do.
With or without awards, I know what remarkable human beings you are.
They are great people. They do great things for humanity.
I'm proud of everything that you've accomplished, and you're both so impressive, and I adore you.
I hope Len and Sue will keep on riding. One day when I'm old enough, I will join you.
We will never forget Susan and Len Lodish.
They have always been a great inspiration, and I am so thankful that our children know them so they can be inspired by their lives and their efforts for ALS.
Wow, what a video. And you have not seen that before, Susan and Len, or you have? You saw parts of it upstairs. It just, I would assume it just bowled you over, yeah? Incredible. I'm just getting choked up. I can't believe it. All these people you met all over the world, and that's the kind of impact that you made, that they made on them. $2 million plus raised by the Lodishes. Unbelievable. Really. Incredible. Okay, lunch in a half hour. No, I'm kidding. Lunch is now being served, but there are a few minutes. People are like, really? I'm out of here. There are still a few minutes left to get your raffle tickets. Please look for the raffle sellers across the room. Also, remember to share any photos you take today on social media and tag us ALS Philadelphia. That's at ALS Philadelphia, so everybody can see them. And following lunch, we will have the Flame of Hope Awards. Enjoy lunch, everybody. Bill Claiborne, come on up. Billy! Bill Claiborne. By the way, as you're eating, I want to recognize some guests today. I see the president of Citizens Bank, Dan Fitzpatrick. Dan, give a wave. Thank you very much for all you do. You see Dan Fitzpatrick every night, too, during Phillies season. I don't care if it's raining or snowing sideways. He's there in his shirt sleeves with a tie on, whistling in the wind. That is a Phillies fan, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dan. Always remark. Here's Bill Claiborne, everybody. Bill, you're going to select. You're going to reach in there, and you're going to pull out 5 winners. Joan Borowski is going to come up with the barrel. Roll out the barrel. Here we go. 5 raffle winners. Not yet? We got one more. No. There's one more entry coming in. Also, please give it up for Bill Henley from NBC 10 and his lovely wife, Susan. Bill is a vital part of our chapter and is so great at all the events he attends. We thank Bill and Susan. Also want to recognize Mary Ellen Fox. Mary Ellen, give a wave. We lost Bill Fox, Mary Ellen's husband, a legendary basketball coach from Father Judge over the summer to ALS. Thank you, Mary Ellen, for being here. All right, now we're going to pull the winners. Here's Bill Claiborne. Here are the prizes. Oh, it's actually one for, I see what you're doing. All right. 5th prize, Fearless Restaurant gift certificate. And you can choose from any of their fabulous restaurants. Mouchalou, The Deck, White Dog Cafe, University City. Been to all these, they're delicious. White Dog Haverford, love it. Might have been there with Pat Waters and Lisa Waters and Leslie Goodell. You don't know.
Philly Fanatic.
Philly Fanatic?
Yeah.
Bill says the Philly Fanatic can't win. Oh. Al Slipikoff. Al and Kelly Slipikoff. Ineligible. I'm just kidding. Here's the ticket. It says Al Slip. I knew, yeah, Al Slip too. I got it. All right. 4th prize, 2-night weekend stay for 2 at the Lowe's with breakfast and a dinner at Bank and Bourbon, the fabulous restaurant in the hotel. $1,000 value. Bill Claiborne. Here it comes. Thank you very much. When you have a typed entry, you mean business. Robert A. Blattner. Bobby Blattner. Is he here? Don't call me Bobby. I'm sorry. Robert Blattner? They have to be present to win, Joan? They do not. You do not. But please don't leave. 3rd prize. Ocean City, Maryland condo vacation. Accommodates up to 11 guests, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, kitchen, outdoor hot tub, blocks from the beach. All right. Bill Claiborne.
Digging deep.
Digging deep. Here we go. Robert Finkel. Robert Finkel. Is he here? Nice job, Rob. Bob. Here you go. You're a winner. We got your card. And we're going to love partying at your house this summer. It's going to be great. Okay, what's next? Phillies 2022 home opening day, 4 Diamond Club tickets, April 8th at Citizens Bank Park against the former Philadelphia Athletics, now they're the Oakland Athletics, at 3:15. Includes food on match views in the exclusive Diamond Club and parking and rubbing elbows with Dan Fitzpatrick. Here we go. Timothy Wilson. Tim Wilson. You here? You're a winner. You're a winner anyway, but you won those tickets. Grand prize number 1. Dormy stay and play golf. 2 days of unlimited golf for 4 championship courses. 1-night accommodations. Choose from 1 exclusive destination golf club, full service amenities, and a secluded, relaxing retreat. Arbor Links in Nebraska City, Valley Hack in Roanoke, Briggs Ranch in San Antone, and Victoria National in Newburgh, Indiana. Thank you, Bill Claiborne. Christine Moretti. Christine Moretti. Are you a golfer, Christine? She is now. She's a golfer now. Thank you very much, Bill Claiborne. Thank you. Awesome job. Just met Bill. You saw him earlier and his lovely wife, Sharon, who is here today. and they were talking about a lower incidence. So I shouldn't even be talking about, this is an Ellen Phillips deal or a Jeff Klein deal, but the incidence in the African American community of ALS is lower than the general population. And Bill has said he's putting the word, and Sharon has said they're going to be putting the word out, making sure everybody's aware, raising funds on their end. Thank you very much, Bill. All right, we did the raffle. We got the 5 tickets. All right, we got, as you continue eating now, please direct your attention to this special video about the 2021 Flame of Hope honorees.
Every year, the Flame of Hope recognizes organizations and individuals who have made a difference in the fight against ALS. I first met Wes and Kelly nearly 16 years ago. They came to visit me when I was a state representative. Kelly, Nathan, Aiden, and the entire Rose family. And we worked together to successfully get ALS funding into the state budget.
This is us advocating again in
The Millers have had such an impact in Harrisburg. They also put a name and a face to ALS and the cause for finding a cure and for making sure that we're supporting those who have ALS and their families.
This certainly has to do with our favorite topic.
Tom Ritchie has been involved with our mission for nearly 30 years after losing his wife to ALS. And he has shown his compassion through our visiting volunteer program, helping people like Kevin Glenn and many others through their journey with ALS. We're proud to call him a friend and our honoree with the Flame of Hope.
I'm a father, I'm a brother, a college professor, and I was diagnosed 2 years ago at the age of 33 with ALS.
Wes strongly believed that research was going to be the answer for both treatment and cure for ALS. We did this because this was his passion, and I am honored to accept the award on his behalf.
Their work to raise awareness has made a difference for so many people battling ALS. It's going to lead to huge advances in science and medicine.
Keep the mind busy.
There's a lot of living to do with ALS. It's not about the things that you can't do, it's all the stuff that you can do with ALS.
What makes an effective advocate is being willing to share your heart, your experiences, put a personal story and face to whatever cause you're advocating for. The Millers do that so effectively.
My favorite thing about advocacy is going telling my story.
It's extremely important to be an advocate because you really need for them to understand what your needs are. Your representatives, to the senators, to the congressmen.
They want to hear your story.
Certainly I'm proud about this. I mean, this will go into my resume. It's also humbling.
The Jesuit order always talks about being a man for others, and that's always how I viewed my Uncle Tom. As a visiting volunteer, I've watched him interact with pals, and specifically Kevin Glenn, and seeing how close he was, not just to the pals, but to their families. He really, really was invested personally.
Well, maybe I'll call it a different color, but
He was a lifesaver. He really did make a difference in Kevin's life. He was committed and he showed so much care and concern and compassion. Tom, for us, was an extended part of our family.
We remember Wes and we love Wes, and his legacy still inspires me. And it inspires the work advocates do across Pennsylvania every single day.
My father was recently diagnosed with ALS, and I draw on the Millers for strength and for hope and for guidance.
I am hoping that by our family receiving the Flame of Hope Award, it might inspire others to also give both their time and efforts towards raising funding for research projects.
We have a lot of living to do. Advocacy is a huge, huge, huge part of our lives. Always will be.
So I would recommend anyone, if you're the least bit interested in helping a worthy cause, this has got to be it, really.
What a beautiful, beautiful video, and just special, special persons that we are honoring today. The Flame of Hope has become a very special tradition at these events to present the first award, the Flame of Hope in ALS Care. Please welcome chapter nurse Gail Hausman, who was herself the recipient of the 2020 Flame of Hope in ALS Care. Gail?
Thank you, Mr. Barkan. It is truly an honor to present this year's Flame of Hope Award in Care Services to Tom Ricci. I have worked with Tom for the past 21 years in my role as the coordinator of the Southeast Visiting Volunteer, or what we call the VV program. Tom has been an active volunteer since the program's inception. While the Merriam-Webster Dictionary lists the word active as an adjective or a noun, in Tom's case, I would suggest that the word be used as a verb, an action word. Tom is a doer. He visited multiple people with ALS and their loved ones over the years. He supported, befriended, encouraged, and even fed some of them. Apparently, Tom makes a mean Italian sausage and pasta dish. He drove many miles to visit some, such as Steve, who lived in Sussex County, Delaware, or Robert from Cape May County. And he made many, many visits to his longtime pals, Kevin Glenn. Kevin was the first and last person with ALS that Tom visited. A well-loved member of our chapter family, Kevin was an ongoing participant in supporting the chapter's mission. I do take some pride in the fact that I paired Tom with Kevin. It was quite a successful match, leading to a true friendship. For two guys who probably would never have met had it not been for Tom saying yes to the match. Simply put, Tom is a really good guy. We at the ALS Association Greater Philadelphia Chapter are grateful to Tom's endurance in participating in the program and for the support he has provided to the many people that he visited. Okay.
Thank you so much. I had speech prepared, but Tony told me to keep it short, and I'm going to try and do that. My association with ALS, the ALS chapter, began when Lynn, my wife, started choking and slurring her words in 1988. In 1989, we got a diagnosis of ALS. No, I'm not going to go through every single year. We are to keep it short. When we got the diagnosis, Lynn immediately contacted the association, and we were invited to both their support groups and their clinic. Clinic was on Vine Street at the time. We began attending both. The association provided tremendous, both physical and moral support for the next couple of years. Lynn passed away in February of '92, and during the '90s, I continued to try to help out whenever I can. My job required some traveling, so I made whatever affairs I could and befriended many of the staff and volunteers at the time. Around the turn of the century, two things happened. I was going to lose my job, be put into an early retirement, and Gail Hausman contacted me and asked me if I was interested in this program that she was kind of inventing, and it was called Visiting Volunteers. It didn't sound like any heavy lifting was involved, so naturally I took it. And one of the best things I ever did, I got to meet many genuine heroes, one of whom I met was, of course, Kevin Glenn. Kevin Glenn and I was only Kevin Glenn's, we joked about this, I was only Kevin Glenn's visiting volunteer for about 3 or 4 visits. After that, we became 2 guys that liked to jabber at each other and chit-chat and eat Italian food, mainly pizza, lasagna, and Italian sausage, or pizza and lasagna with Italian sausage. Kevin loved his food, and we became the best of friends over the ensuing years. Sadly, I lost my best friend this year, and it really does make me very uncomfortable to even talk about it. I miss my friend, however, but I am very grateful for the recognition that the organization is giving me, and I appreciate all the work everyone does in this fine organization. Thank you very much.
Tom, stay up here. Yeah, stay up. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Tom. Beautiful, beautiful words from Gail and Tom. And Tom was mentioning Kevin Glenn in particular. We lost Kevin not too long ago. He was a wonderful person. He was a huge Philadelphia sports fan. He was a huge music fan. I know he was many ALS festivals, you know, John. And he had his own music set up, and he would make music then on CD. He was unbelievable. Let me welcome now back to the stage. What's up? How are you? Go ahead. Why don't you come on up? Come on up. Kyle? How are you? Good to see you. Let me introduce ALS Ally State Representative Kyle Mullins to make a presentation.
Thank you very much for the introduction and for having us. I'm State Representative Kyle Mullins. I represent part of the city of Scranton and other communities in northeastern Pennsylvania. Paul and Eileen Miller, my friends, came into my life when I was just a young state Senate staffer in the Capitol building in Harrisburg around a decade ago. My boss was up on the Senate floor, so I covered a meeting with a couple who was in town to advocate for not one, but 2 heartbreaking ways their state government could help them. To pass a law to stop distracted driving and direct more funds for ALS research and care services. During that meeting, I learned that their son was recently killed by a distracted driver, and Paul was diagnosed with ALS not long after that. I remember the tears that came to me after they left the office, and how that never happened before after a meeting, even after taking some tough ones. I remember trying to comprehend their pain and their strength to carry on after such a loss and such a diagnosis. Years later, the Millers helped to serve as my strength, as my dad was diagnosed with ALS himself in early 2020. All of a sudden, I, along with my caregiving mother and my incredible sister, we all became heartbroken and shell-shocked caregivers. Part of this club we never asked to be part of. But as I look around this room, as I rely on the Millers, I say, thank God there's a club. Dad raised me as a New York Yankees fan. I'll get it out of the way now. And I'm aware that there's a Phillies sign, a fanatic, and a whole bunch of Philadelphia Phillies staring daggers at me right now. Fortunately, I believe the only constituents of mine to lose votes to are right here, and they're New York Yankee fans too.
No, but what an amazing thing! $20 million raised by the Philadelphia Phillies. So I must reference Lou Gehrig and his famous farewell speech about being the luckiest man on the face of the earth. He said, "When you have a wife who's been a tower of strength and shown more courage that you ever dreamed existed, that's the finest I know." Paul, we know that's Eileen. And I know that's my mom. And I know that's my wife and crying shoulder, Lauren, who's here with me. Lou Gehrig went on to say, "I may have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. If my young kids taking a nap on my dad's lap have taught me anything, if you've all taught us anything, if my friends Paul and Eileen Miller have taught me anything, it's that we've all got an awful lot to live for. And if we got to be in this room, if we have to be in this club, then by God, let's keep making a difference with our bad break. I know Paul and Eileen Miller will." So it's my absolute honor to present the Flame of Hope Advocacy Award to my friends and my strength, Paul and Eileen Miller.
Thank you so much. It's good to be recognized for something that we just do from our hearts. Kyle was right, we lost our son in 2010 to a distracted tractor trailer driver. And after that, I was diagnosed with ALS. But we took two nasty things and turned it into a positive, advocating for ALS and advocating for better laws. When being on the phone while you're driving is a no-no. Please don't do it. Save a life and maybe your own. When I was diagnosed in 2012, I went home on the computer and said, 2 to 5 years to live. Now it's 9 years. And I think you have to somehow keep that positive attitude. Smile. Try and enjoy life. And hopefully soon we can have a cure. I'm gonna fight for the cure as long as I can. Thank you.
Beautiful, Tom. That was beautiful. Like a pleasure meeting you too.
I'm not going to add too much. I just want to say, everybody, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I love all the love in the room. Keep staying positive. I really appreciate the acknowledgement. Like we say, we do it from the heart. We don't do it for acknowledgement, but it really is great to be acknowledged. Love you, Paul. Thank you so much, Representative Mullins. We got to stick together, keep staying strong, keep in the fight, and always remember here, reach out if you're under stress. Sometimes it does get a little hard being a caregiver, but there's always help and support out there. The ALS Association has the group out there to help you. Everybody, hopefully the year to come is better. COVID is past us, hopefully. And I love seeing everybody face to face. It's great to see everybody back in and moving strong. Thank you, everybody. Have a great one.
One more thing, Nan. Let's get a cure for ALS so I can keep kicking ALS in the ass.
Paul Miller and Eileen Miller and State Representative Kyle Mullins. Awesome job. Awesome job. And that is why we're here, to keep kicking ALS in the ass. You know that, Paul. Absolutely. And there is a lot of love in this room. I think that's why, even though in the face of all this torment, that we love being together, is because of the love that's in the room every time we meet. All right, Ellen Phillips, and you're going to introduce Kelly Rose.
I met Wes Rose soon after he was diagnosed. I marveled at his optimism and his intelligence. He offered to do anything he could to help our cause. I was advised to not ask too much of Wes because it might overwhelm him. At that time, I hadn't known Wes for very long, but I had a hunch he definitely wanted to get involved. Battling ALS was a family affair. All the Roses who are here today, Kelly, their sons, Aiden and Nate, father and mother, Nancy and Ray, sister Becky and brother-in-law Todd, and sister-in-law Stacy and brother Andy. Today, today, the family is involved with the chapter's annual Walk to Defeat ALS with the Absolutely Living Strong team and the Rose Petals team in the bike ride. However, it seems in talking to Kelly that this all started when they were in daycare. I don't know, Aiden and Nate, do you remember what you did for ALS in daycare? Not really, okay. Well, it's in your blood in terms of doing things and being active, just like your mom and dad were and are. Wes was our ambassador. Everywhere we went, in the Phillies clubhouse, as you saw, and on TV and radio, through the halls of Harrisburg and Washington, he drew a crowd. Wes served on our board, and both he and his dad were on our research committee. We relied on Wes and Ray, both biologists, to review grants that had been approved by our national association, but needed funding. Wes would get excited when he viewed a proposal that had promise. He called one wicked good, and of course, we put our money towards that project. We visited research labs and drug companies. Wes was our interpreter. Wes, Ray, and I had frequent breakfasts at the West Avenue Grill in Glenside. I always looked forward to these and had a good-natured fight over who it was to pay. During these years, I didn't interface with Kelly very much. She's an MD and was involved with her family and her work. Now I look forward to our lunches. Research is just as important to Kelly as it was to Wes. When Wes died, Kelly and the family established the Wes Rose Research Fund to help find an answer to ALS. For their commitment to research, it is my honor to present the Flame of Hope in Research and Innovation to Kelly Rose and the Rose family.
Well, on behalf of Wes and my boys, I would like to say thank you. I want to thank Ellen for her very kind words and to the association for honoring Wes in this way. I want to thank the entire Rose crew at Table 19 for attending today's luncheon. And I want to thank Dr. Glenn Rawl and his wife Eileen for being our guest. Wes worked in Glenn's lab doing his postdoctoral fellowship, but after that time, Glenn became his mentor, his collaborator, and most importantly, his dear friend. Honestly, if you want to meet a group of people, smart people, but we're pretty darn dorky, come on over to Table 19. Everyone sitting in that table has done research in one way or another, including my son Nathan, who has begun doing research in a lab focused on neurodegenerative disease at Haverford College. And I wrote that last night, but we just had a conversation about slide rules, so we are dorky, okay? There are a lot of labels that Wes went by, some I can't mention. The obvious ones, though, were he was a son, a husband, a dad, a brother, a friend, and a person with ALS. But probably the label that the greatest number of people knew him by was teacher. He was passionate about teaching, not only in the classroom at Arcadia, but in his lab. And when his hands no longer allowed him to do the research himself, he kept his lab open and he mentored students on how to think critically about the science. He coached them through doing experiments and guided them on how to present and share their results with others. Over the years, Wes and our family participated in many different aspects of the work of the ALS Association. All of them were important, but we all knew that not only for Wes, but for all the people with ALS that would come after him, the only way to get past having just hope was to wholeheartedly support research which might someday offer better treatment or even maybe a cure. Anyone who ever spoke to Wes about ALS research could see his passion for it. And if you didn't understand it, he would very patiently walk you through all the basics of it, hoping that at the end, you too would be passionate about it. He took his role on the board of directors and the research committee very seriously. It was so important to him that the allocated funds were used thoughtfully and wisely, because we all know real lives depend on it. So again, thank you for honoring Wes and our family in this way. And I encourage all of you here today to continue to wholeheartedly support the research efforts that will hopefully take us past just having hope and to the cure we all dream about. Thank you.
Don't forget your flame of hope.
That's right.
Thank you, Kelly. Beautiful words. I think there's a photo op down at the end. And we've got some nice parting gifts for you. Kelly Rose and the Millers and Tom Ricci, just beautiful. Wes Rose was an unbelievable presence too. As Kelly said and as Ellen said, people gravitated to him, whether it was folks like us at this luncheon or whether it was Chase Utley or Ryan Howard. I remember seeing him at the Lake tournament, at the Billy Lake basketball marathon several years and talking to him, and he just had a sweetness and a kindness about him, as do all our honorees. It's just a special award. Now I want to introduce another friend of the Lodishes who we're honoring today, Len and Susan. I want to introduce another friend of theirs, Kent Griswold. Kent is a former chapter board member who has used his extensive experience with nonprofits to advance the ALS Association's mission. In 1982, Kent's mother, Jean, founded Griswold Special Care, and their first ALS patient was Alan Phillips, the husband of Ellen Phillips. Recently, Dr. Griswold is the founder and executive producer of The Wolf Pack of Philadelphia on Amazon Prime, a program which also features Len Lodish. Together, the Wolves provide advice and capital to entrepreneurs. Kent is a graduate of Harvard. H-A-R with a V, V-A-R with a D. But also Wharton, the University of Pennsylvania, and Kennedy Western University. Kent has also studied in Kenya, England, and Sweden, and has worked in Hong Kong and Australia. He is here today with his wife, Dr. Laurie Griswold. Please welcome Kent Griswold.
I just found out some stuff about myself I didn't know. As Paul so beautifully said, let's all kick ALS in the ass. ALS, a terrible disease. Len and Susan Lodish, inspirational people. 25 years of writing and over $2 million raised. Wow. Good afternoon, and thank you to each and every one of you for being here. As Michael said, back in 1984, my mother, the founder of Griswold Home Care, arranged for caregivers for Ellen Phillips' husband, Alan, to make his battle with ALS more tolerable. My father, a Presbyterian minister, even spent one night helping Alan when a caregiver could not be found. I served 9 years on the ALS board and chaired the Family and Patient Services Committee for 7 of those years. I made many good friends through the ALS Association, some of whom are no longer with us. My wife Lori and I have a good friend, Meg, who's living with ALS today. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today. The impact on her family and her family is devastating, and yet she finds ways to make others laugh. She sees silver linings even in the darkest skies. But when it comes to finances, it's sometimes difficult to see that silver lining. ALS nationally costs over $1 billion every year. That's with a B, $1 billion. The disease duration cost on average for one person is over $1.5 million. Caregivers alone can cost around $700,000. Ventilation care can be over $200,000, and hospital care can be over $100,000. People with ALS, known as PALS, may have to give up working, forgoing their salary and benefits. Their family members may have to cut back on work to provide care. Professional caregivers may need to be hired. Equipment needs to be bought. Medical supplies are not cheap, especially today. The old family car may need to be traded in for a van with a ramp. There may need to be a home modification, such as full bath on the first floor or a ramp leading to the back door. Lots of adjustments need to be made, and the family finances may be ravaged. People expect that insurance will pay for everything. It does not. Fortunately, the ALS Association has a wonderful program which provides grants to pay for home care in the amount of $4,000 every 6 months. While this may not cover everything, it is a blessing and reduces some of that burden on the family. The ALS Association has many other programs in place to help PALS and their families, and it also supports medical research to find a cure for ALS. The challenge always facing the ALS Association is how to spend the money that donors such as yourself so kindly give. As the former chair of the Patient and Family Services Committee, I always wanted more money to go towards helping those living with ALS. But without research, there would be no chance of finding a cure, and we would be faced with more and more people battling ALS. So my challenge to you, when you write your next check, is to double the amount so that we can pay for care and pay for research, and those today and those tomorrow will all benefit. Let's talk a moment about our honorees, Len and Susan Lodish. They're true spokespersons for the ALS community. They are setting an example to all of us, not just by their words, which you will hear shortly, but by their actions. When you think of the spokes of the bike, each one is necessary to hold the wheels in place and allow forward progress. Without any single spoke, the wheel might collapse and the rider could be endangered. Think of yourselves as those spokes. You are all a necessary part of the journey we call ALS. Len and Susan are those riders, and no hill is too high for them to climb. I've known Len for a number of years, initially through his work with the ALS Association to honor his cousin, but then through a television show that I produced called The Wolf Pack. 5 years ago, I cast Len as one of the 5 wolves who are experienced business leaders in the greater Delaware Valley. Each episode features a single company that is seeking mentorship, a capital infusion, and the exposure of being on a television show that is currently airing on Amazon Prime. 2 of the companies featured in season 1 are with us today, Pat Waters and Jose Azambuja. Hopefully everybody will get a chance to watch the show. Len is our resident professor and most seasoned investor who offers his sage comments with a twinkle in his eye. From Australian meat pies and caffeinated protein bars to beauty and sports apps, he uses his unmatched skills in analytics to cut to the core issue at hand. There are a number of the Wolfpack here as well. We have Leslie Goodell, who also appeared last season, will be with us to film season 2 as well. And we're all here to help celebrate Len and Susan. I will now hand over back the mic to Michael to continue the introduction of rock star Susan Lodish and television star Len Lodish, philanthropists, trailblazers, intellects, proud parents, and an inspiration to us all. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you, Kent. The more I'm hearing about the Lodishes, I mean, no disrespect to the Wolfpack, but I'm thinking Survivor for the Lodishes. They're on an island. Okay, got nothing for you. Back to camp with the Lodishes. Okay. Thank you, Kent. We've seen today how ALS affects a family and how the entire Lodish family is part of this important mission. To introduce our honored guests today, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Larry Lodish, Len's cousin, and brother of Jules Lodish, in whose honor Len and Susan ride each year. Larry?
My name is Larry Lodish. I am Len Lodish's cousin. We both, Susan and I and Len, all grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, so we've known each other all our lives. I am also the brother of Jules Lodish, who has succumbed to ALS 13 years ago. It was his plight that got Len and Susan into riding for ALS the last 25 years. By the way, Len and Susan have been together for 65 years, been married for 56 years, and I think that deserves a round of applause. Before I talk about Len and Susan, I want to thank the ALS Association of Greater Philadelphia for enhancing my life in a tremendous way. As a young kid, I always wanted to be a doctor like my brother. But the DNA in me was not the same as the rest of my family. My cousins, brothers, and sisters are all tremendous academics. I barely got through chemistry in college. So I realized medicine was not going to be in the future for me. But the ALS Association, when they send me my contribution envelopes, it is addressed to Dr. and Mrs. Lawrence Lodish. I think they think that anybody with the last name Lodish is a doctor. So I am so thrilled. For the last 27 years, I have been Dr. Lodish. Even my ALS card says Dr. and Mrs. Lodish. So I want to thank you very, very much. I'm not changing that. I leave the envelopes lying around the house. So all my guests are so impressed with how I am. Now, all the previous talkers here have been very serious, and this is a serious thing. But Len and Susan have given me the okay to do something a little offbeat, and I am going to tell you a few things about their outtakes in life. Len had a car many years ago that had a problem getting started and running. So he told Susan if he could just get it up to 25 miles an hour, he could drive the car. He asked Susan to push him. The word Susan missed was push. Susan got down at the end of the road and started heading towards Len at 25 miles an hour. Len, being an extremely intelligent person, realized right away this was going to not end well. He jumped out of the car, waved his hands, and yelled no, and fortunately Susan stopped right before the collision. Once, Len had a couple soft tires, so he told Susan to take them to the station, the gas station near them. Susan went to the gas station. Oh, and he told her to put in 32 pounds of pressure so to make the tires work. So Susan goes to the gas station, tells the attendant, I need 2 tires that weigh 32 pounds. The attendant said, excuse me? She said, I need 2 32-pound tires. So he said, would you mind telling that to the rest of the people here at the gas station? I think they knew what she wanted, but they were just having fun with her. By the way, Susan left the room yet? Okay. Len has had his lapses also. I lived 10 minutes from Len during my 20s and his 20s, and every Sunday we would play tennis, weather permitting. And to be fair, it's the one thing that I can do better than Len Lodish is play tennis. That's it. So to be fair, we made 6-3, me winning it as even. So if I won 6-2, I would win $1. If I won 6-4, he would win $1. In those days, that was 50 years ago, dollars were something. So I don't think he ever won anything from me, ever. So one Sunday, he hits a tremendous shot, and I hear him yell, oh, Daniel. So I go, what does that mean? He goes, I'm supposed to be watching Daniel at our house. That was his 3-month-old nephew in a crib, and he was told not to play tennis this Sunday. So we flew back to the house, ran as fast as we could, and fortunately, everything's okay. Now, one of the classic stories about Len is when he had to get a cap for his tooth. So Len gets the cap, and about a week later, it loosens up, and he swallows the cap. Very upset that he bought this expensive cap. It's only a week old. He runs to the dentist. The dentist says, don't worry. It will come out in 3 or 4 days. So he goes home, and Susan and Len, now I understand marriage is a couple, they do things for each other, but this Len could have taken care of himself. But Susan and he went in, and every day they went in and looked for this cap. Now, to make sure they didn't miss the cap, they put the bags on the windowsill in case they had to relook at them and again. So this goes on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, bingo, they find the cap. So he runs to get it, put it in at the dentist. I hope he had it cleaned. And that should be the end of that story, but it's not. That was October. In April, they have their house painted. And as the painters come by his side of the house, they see 5 bags of crap sitting on the windowsill. Not knowing what the hell that was, they took them off, rang their doorbell, and asked, do you need this? I only wish I could have been there to see this. I've had a little fun with Susan and Len, but I want to personally thank them for what they have done for ALS, for the memory of my brother, and I hope that the next time we all meet together, we can have a luncheon and share the curing of ALS. It is now my distinct honor and privilege and pleasure to bring up Len and Susan Lodish.
Those were all true stories.
Yeah, those were all true stories, and in fact, I think they were censored a little bit for mixed company. Before Susan and I speak, I wanted Chaim and my grandson Reuben to just say a little bit about their experiences on our rides. It was really nice for the last 5 years to have Chaim and the three boys and Valerie with us as we pedaled. And I'd just like to let them say a couple words.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm the youngest of his three children, and I want to speak to the tenacity and grit that they set up as the foundation of their rides. Their first ride was in 1996, and I was a senior in college and graduating that year. And the first ride across country, if you're riding across country, you got to ride across country, and you got to do EFI, every inch of the ride. And my graduation was in the middle of the ride, or towards the beginning. They were in Arizona at the time, and to their credit, they rode ahead on their first day off so that they could ride every inch, and then they had friends who were in Arizona pick them up so that they could fly, get on the flight that evening, show up for my graduation that next day, and then promptly leave to get back on the bike and ride. But they made it every inch, and they made it to my graduation, and that kind of set the bar of how determined they were to do it all. And that's a memorable one for me, so thank you for letting that happen.
Now, Susan told me she's going to kibitz when I thank people. And first I want to thank our friend Elaine for her beautiful piano music. We've been friends since junior high school and value her support. And we've heard her play many times, and it's beautiful. The first thank you goes to the person who's really responsible for this 25 years of our riding, because it wasn't our idea. We did want to ride across the country on our tandem, and there's a whole story behind that I won't have the time to go into, but we knew that if we rode across the country, which we both really wanted to do, if we could raise money for charity, it would be better and make us feel better about all the time we were spending supposedly enjoying ourselves on our bicycle. So we told the chapter what we were going to do, and they said, fine, we'll support you. And we basically got our friends to agree to contribute so much per mile. And in return, we were going to send them postcards periodically from the road. That was what you did in 1996. And we finished the ride, presented a check for $10,000 or $15,000, I don't remember exactly what, to Ellen Phillips, who was running the ALS Association at that time, and we were going to, do something else. And she takes the check and said, you've got this group of people that now know how important the ALS cause is. Why don't you do another ride next summer? And if she had not asked us that, I don't think we would have done another ride next summer. And then things took a life of its own.
Once we started, we couldn't stop.
Yeah. Then the next person, what I'm doing is I want to thank people who helped us throughout this 25 years in various different ways. Adele Gross Finkel is here. Her first husband, Mel, passed away tragically 15, 20 years ago. 18 years ago, okay. And they saw us off when we were in Manhattan Beach starting our ride across the U.S. And we were hassling with getting the bike out and schlepping it through the beach to put the rear wheel in the water. So we started with one wheel in the Pacific and it could end with one wheel in the Atlantic. And if anybody knows me, I have a little bit of a short fuse, and I lost my temper a couple times, and a few times out of my mouth came, "God damn it, Susan," you know, whatever. And she's heard it before, but not since. And the reason she hasn't heard it since was Mel heard me say that a few times, and he'd heard me say it before, and he said, "Hey, Len, I'll tell you what, if you don't say, 'God damn it, Susan,' for the whole rest of the trip, I'll double my pledge." And that caused me to think differently, and I don't say it anymore, and it was Mel's fault. I want to thank my friend Alan Markowitz, who schlepped to Cape Henlopen to meet us when we finished our ride and really made a celebration out of it. And it was the beginning of, well, it was not the beginning, but it was the start of a very long and very fruitful friendship between us. And Alan has supported every ride since then, and we really appreciate his help.
There are a few people here that supported our very first ride and have continued to support us for the 25 years, and I want to thank them.
Okay. I want to thank another person we'll never know the name of, who I think could have saved our lives. This was a trip when we were going down starting in Maine to end up in Philadelphia visiting ALS research centers. And we went over the George Washington Bridge on the bike lane, and then we're riding to Philadelphia. And I figured I would take Route 1 rather than try to get on any of the superhighways. I knew, at least the areas I had known, Route 1 had a shoulder, and you could ride on the shoulder. So I followed signs to Route 1, and we ended up on the Pulaski Highway. How many people know about the Pulaski Highway? All right, it is elevated about 30 feet off the ground, and it has rooms for 4 lanes of cars with no shoulder, no nothing. So, and we couldn't turn around and go back because the cars are doing 60, 65 miles an hour. So we started riding as close to the barrier on the end as possible, and the cars were honking on us, and it was awful. But it only happened for about maybe a minute, and then all of a sudden it stopped, and we heard a horn beep from behind us, and there was a truck driver going slowly behind us with his lights blinking to shield us from the rest of the traffic. And we had to ride for 3 or 4 miles until the next exit and got the hell off of there as fast as we could. But if that truck driver, who we never saw because he kept going, never were able to acknowledge, if he hadn't have done that, I'm not sure we'd be here today. There's a few more, but I realize we're short on time. Argentina, we were there, and it was our summer, their winter, and we were on a main road, but there was a shoulder on it in Argentina, and we had been on that same road for 3 days. For the first 2 days, at about 4 o'clock or 3:30, and it got dark around 5, these big rodents that we now realize were meerkats would come out of the grass and the rubble near the road, go toward the road, see the cars, and then come back. And they had big teeth, and they were scarier than crap. And we rode one day, passed them, rode the second day. The third day, it's about 3:30 in the afternoon. We have 6 more miles to go, and the cranks on our bike, just disintegrated. And we had to stop and push the bike, and these things are coming out, and we're really getting scared and saying, "Oh, it could end here." And we weren't walking more than 30 seconds, and a Good Samaritan in a pickup truck pulls over, puts our bike in the pickup truck, takes us to a bike shop, and once we were at the bike shop, the town realized that we were raising money for what they call motor neuron disease, which is the same thing as ALS, it just has different names around the world. And we were on television, they had a barbecue on our honor, a ticker tape parade, and we were treated amazingly. Many of the bed and breakfasts around the world where we stayed did not charge us for the rooms when they found out our mission. We had a number of people who helped us. You saw the person from Turkey who was an Olympic cyclist who, because of my friend Bülent Gültekin, who is a finance professor at Wharton, he actually guided us the whole tour, and he even arranged for the police to have blockades so that when we went to tunnels on the road, we would be safe. Bruce Brownstein was a colleague at Wharton who wanted to ride with us. He rode with us on our Israeli trip, and he helped us push our tandem up the mountain to the Golan Heights. We couldn't ride after a while. It was just way too steep, and we took turns and pushed it. And when we got to Ramat HaGolan, the hotel in the Golan Heights that we were staying at, the person that checked us in said, "Where's your car? Where are you going to park your car?" We said, "We don't have a car. We just have bicycles." And
A bicycle.
a bicycle. Well, no, Bruce had his bicycle too. And they said, "Well, we've been in this hotel for now 14 years, and nobody's ever checked in with just a bicycle. So you're the first, so give us something." Also want to thank all of the people who waved and honked at us when they saw our loaded tandem touring through their country. Every country, people were really supportive.
Except for Finland.
Well, except for Finland. And in Finland, because it's dark there all the time, you really notice the people are much more reserved. Now, in a more serious vein, we would like to thank all the people who supported us for 25 years. You kept us at it and kept our spirits up. Many of you are here today, and we really appreciate your support and encouragement and various generous contributions. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have done this Mishigas. We have our friend and family support system, our kids, our grandkids, our nieces and nephews, who all at various points helped out, especially Chaim, Valerie, Caleb, Ruben, and Levi, who came with
the little one, yeah.
the little one, who came with us on the last 5 rides, our housemates, Bob and Gloria, for enabling this endeavor, and most importantly, the people of the ALS Association who helped with every aspect of our rides and were always there when we needed them. It's time to single out one of those people, Joan Borowski. Would you come up, Joan?
There's one.
And somewhere, I need another prop that, oh well, if not, we'll wing it. You're all embarrassed? You deserve every minute of this. Okay. Joan has been there for everything, and my everything is in capital letters, when she could possibly help. Joan, we could not have done this without you, and it's impossible to describe how dedicated and important you are to us. And I'm probably, every person in here who supported our rides has probably had a personal conversation with Joan at one point or another. She's just really dedicated, and we want to present this to you as a token of our appreciation. So thank you for everything, Joan, and thank you all again.
Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it.
Where you going? Halfway through? Halfway home? Kidding me? What, you leave? All right. Let's hear it for the Lodishes one more time, everybody. Len and Susan and Ruben and Chaim and Larry. And of course, always remember Jules. Okay. Please make sure someone from your table takes home a beautiful floral arrangement. Flowers are courtesy of Ziegler and Sons, unless it's Zeiger and Sons. I'm sorry, Zeiger. Thanks to everyone for being part of this special event, especially all of our sponsors, the Lodishes, Kent Griswold, Rabbi Cooper, Elaine Siegel. How about Elaine Siegel? Play us out, Elaine. And of course, our dear friends at the Philadelphia Phillies. One more hello, John Russo wave right there. He's my favorite Yankees fan. Talk about Yankees fans. I love this guy, even though he's a stinking Yankees fan, just like the Millers are. But I heard John say, and I know the Millers said, he with a smile, he said, those Philadelphia Phillies are just absolutely unbelievable. So come on over to the good side. Come on over to the good side. Have a great afternoon, great weekend, everybody. Thanks for being here. We love you.